Hello everyone, I'm Matthew with TX5 Custom Gear out here in Southeast Texas on this beautiful spring day. I'm going to make a video and talk to you guys about the Minimalist 2.0. So if you followed TX5 for any amount of time or you're a fan of TX5, you know that we had the Minimalist. It was our second best selling saddle last year and a lot of guys used it. They gave us feedback. And what we did is we took that feedback and made some changes and we're coming out with the Minimalist 2.0. The Minimalist is a great saddle. Nothing wrong with it. Keep using it. It's a good saddle. There was just a few things that we knew that we could do to make it better, so we implemented those changes into the 2.0, and we're going to talk about that today. Talk about the changes that we made. I'm going to show you guys how to get the saddle on. And I'm going to talk to you guys about how I use the saddle, the 2.0, with a lock-on tree stand as a hybrid setup. Also have a saddle platform over here, and I'll talk about how I use the 2.0 in a traditional saddle setup. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Stick around and we'll get into this Minimalist 2.0. So we'll go ahead and get the saddle opened up and get it on and talk to y'all about some of the changes we made. So as you can see, it still has the slim profile of the Minimalist. What we did here on the lineman's loops, the lineman's loops used to be up here on the top chassis. What we did was we moved them down right below the top chassis here. And what it did was it makes it a little bit more comfortable when you're utilizing the lineman's loops. When you're using it, it's a little bit more comfortable on your back. Also, it makes this where we can put this row of molle and we can run the molle all the way out to the bridge loops here. What it does is move your pouch further forward. We still have the Webbutton on the 2.0 right here, as you can see, with the shock cord that holds the bottom panel or the bottom chassis up. Another thing on the lineman's loops, we got some feedback that guys thought the loop was too small. So what we did was make it about 50% bigger. It's still a smaller loop. It is bigger than the original Minimalist. You still have the shock cord, the webbing down here that keeps the shock cord in place. We still have a little gear loop down here, so if you want to carry sticks or whatever up the tree, you still have that to put a little gear hanger or quick draw gear hanger, something like that on. Move around to the waist belt. So the Minimalist had a 1-inch waist belt. What we did was went to an 1.5 inch waist belt. It's going to make it a little bit more comfortable. I myself prefer an 1.5 inch waist belt. We still have our belay loop on the waist belt, and instead of am steel, 3/16 am steel for the belay loop, we're using 1-inch tubular webbing. On the back side of the saddle, we have the leg strap keepers. I'll talk to you guys about how those work later. The Minimalist had a 3/16 full berry am steel bridge. We changed that to 8mm Rescue Tech rope, and instead of the figure 8 girth hitched to the bridge loop, we went with a scaffold knot. Scaffold knots do get super tight when you put weight on them, and that's good. I mean, it's gonna stay where you want it, but just a traditional scaffold knot, it's really, you put a lot of weight on it, it's hard to break. So what we did, we just threw an extra loop around the bridge loop before we tie the scaffold knot, and what it allows you to do is loosen it up very easily once weight is applied to the saddle. On this side of the bridge, we still have our 3/16 am steel loop in a Prusik knot and a tender to adjust your bridge easily. Now, one of the differences between, like, say, a Raider or a Lone Star, they have a pretty long bridge loop to bridge loop dimension. We shortened that up some, and we did that so when you have the saddle on, you can cinch your bridge down tight. I I'm gonna open up the seat here. This particular Minimalist is in wolf gray mesh, which is a new offering. We have a couple other, some ATAX colored mesh, coyote tan mesh, ranger green mesh, a bunch of different colors to choose from. We also have a solid fabric, which I have right here. This is Nyko ripstop. This particular one is Ranger Green. We also have multicam. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get my pouch on the saddle and show you guys how to put it on, how the leg straps work, and how I walk into the woods with it, how I hunt out of the tree with it. So I always put my pouch on my left side. Now you can order the Minimalist with the Minimalist pouch or without. Go ahead and get the saddle on so you can step through your bridge like this, or you can, if you don't want to get your saddle muddy, if you got on some muddy rubber boots, just put the saddle on over your head like that. Connect the Raptor buckle, and I move my belay loop to the center of my body. Go ahead and get my bottom chassis secured on my Webbuttons here. So go ahead and cinch down my bridge. And that's what I was talking about. Bridge loop dimension, the length being shorter, it allows you to cinch it down right here. Just feels like you have an extra belt on. As you can see, really low profile. It's not going to get in the way, not going to hinder, walking in the woods. You've got free reign. So the leg straps are the same for the 2.0 as they were for the original Minimalist. Show you guys how to get them on. What I do is get the leg straps, hold them out in front of me, and I want the hook of the G hook facing away from me. And I'll take one side, run it through my belay loop. Now this is where the leg strap keepers come into play. They're right here. Go ahead and undo the little Velcro keeper and let that down. So now what I'll do is take my leg strap, go between my leg, and I'll go through this loop on the leg strap keeper. Go back through that loop. Got my left side on. I'll do the same thing on the right side. Run the G hook through there. These leg strap keepers will keep your leg straps from coming down on the back. This style leg strap tends to do that when you're walking through the woods. If you don't have anything holding it up, they'll kind of sag down the back, just kind of hinder you. I normally walk in the woods with my leg straps in my pouch. So I went ahead and put my lineman's rope on here. I normally store mine. I girth hitch it to my left lineman's loop, my left viper loop, and just daisy chain it. Wouldn't be anything to just keep it stored back here in the pouch like that. So what I'll do now is go ahead and get on the trophy line Onyx over here and show you guys how I use the Minimalist in a traditional saddle setup. So guys, as you can see, I'm down here at ground level, so I'm not going to have to utilize my lineman's rope or anything like that, but always stay connected, guys. From the time you leave the ground until you get back on the ground, make sure you're connected to the tree somehow. Safety first. So once I'm up on the platform, I like my tether height to be between chin and collarbone height, so that's about right for me. If I'm using a traditional saddle platform, I'm going to go ahead and deploy the seat, and that's very easy to do. Just take that shock cord off that Webbutton, bam, we're ready to hunt. Bridge length, probably between 12 to 18 inch bridge length, or that's my preferred length. You know, some guys like it super long. I prefer mine to be kind of short. We do have the adjustments where you can go up and down your bridge loop, you know, to adjust the pressure. I prefer mine just a little bit above center. To me, put a little more pressure up top on my back than on my lower than down here. So that's how it's used in a traditional saddle setup with a traditional platform. With the cup that's in the seat, it's sewn into the seat. I mean, it's comfortable. I've done, you know, several all-day sits with this cup seat. It just makes it that much better. This new knot we have on the bridge here, like I said, it's a scaffold knot with just the extra loop thrown into it. As you can see right now, I mean, I'm putting all my weight on the saddle, setting in it, putting a lot of pressure on it. It's very easy to just loosen it up and make that adjustment up or down the bridge loop. I think y'all are really gonna like this new bridge. We'll go ahead and move on over to the lock-on stand. So when I'm using the lock-on stand, I like to run my tether just a little bit lower, probably between somewhere around the bottom of your pecs high. I always stay connected to my bridge, but you do have this belay loop here that you could look into. When I plan on sitting, I usually run a fairly short bridge, 6 inches at the most. I always keep minimal slack in my line. Just take some slack out. When I stand up, make sure and take my slack out. And sitting on that seat doesn't really work for me. Most of the time I stand and lean like this. If you want to deploy the seat, just take your shock cord off your Webbutton. I have one of these Pro pads on the bottom of my seat. That way I can sit like this, and I've got my knee pad. You can just stand with your back to the tree. Minimalist 2.0 really shines with the lock-on scenario. That's how I normally run it. When I'm using the Minimalist, I got my lock-on. I mean, you can hunt like a traditional saddle setup, or you know, you can hunt as like a traditional lock-on setup. You're always connected to the tree. You always got a tight line. That's what's important, safety first. And what I'll do now is get down from here and show you guys how I get ready to walk out of the woods. So when I'm ready to walk out of the woods, first thing I would do, kind of loosen up my bridge a little bit, get it out of the way, and go ahead and remove my leg straps. When I remove my leg straps, I always store the G-hooks back in their loop where they go. Fold them up, store them in my pouch with my tether and lineman's rope. Then I'll take my bottom chassis web, put it up on my Webbutton. Go ahead, cinch my bridge back down, store my excess bridge, and ready to walk back to the truck. All right guys, so that's it. That's the Minimalist 2.0. It's a really good saddle. Like I said, it really shines in a hybrid lock-on saddle setup. The Minimalist 2.0 is available on our website at tx5customgear.com. The link will be down in the description of the video. So if you're in the market for a very versatile, lightweight, streamlined saddle, head over to the website and put one in your cart. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, shoot us an email, info@tx5customgear.com, or hit us up on our any of our social accounts, TX5 Custom Gear LLC on Facebook or TX5 Custom Gear on Instagram. Really appreciate everybody watching. If y'all have any questions, like I said, hit us up. We'll do what we can to answer them. Thanks, guys.